they come on board. And I guess that's partly because, it's somewhat more anonymous, even though their name's up there, they don't have to be standing there saying this stuff. So those quiet ones actually are engaged, can do it. So I think, and it's less intimidating for them to do so. Nevertheless, once again, to be really effective, it needs levels of encouragement and modelling, and possibly even a mandatory aspect to it to make them all engage with it. In terms of communication, the cooperation between groups and the sharing of information can occur even when timetables are not compatible or teaching spaces are unavailable or inadequate for everybody to get together. However, in our case, some face-to-face engagement in those groups, interdepartmental ones, we actually came down here and had some drinks one afternoon, that increased the exchange. So, and those people who didn't participate, didn't come down and have drinks, didn't get engaged into the same level as the people who were here and had already met face-to-face. So I thought that was a really interesting thing, that you sometimes need both the sort of cyberspace thing and the face-to-face meeting for it to be effective. One of the things that I think is important about it is that, and I think Tom's already alluded to this in some respects about Twitter, is blogging is a form of published communication. Like, my words are just going out into the ether, and that's all that happens to them. And this can encourage ready communication, and as a consequence have a democratizing influence, because everybody can get involved. However, the potential quality of information expressed may be really poor, common to all internet information sharing. So, unproven, unsubstantiated, and even erroneous information and flawed or illogical arguments can be posted. An advantage, however, since it's in black and white, is that this can be referred to or quoted again. So, and you can refute arguments or facts. But as a tutor, I found that there's a tendency to take greater, because you know it's been published, to take greater care about what you put up there than the stuff that you might say in the classroom, so you actually can edit it and think about what you're doing. So that has an advantage. But sometimes with students, I think they actually need to be taught ways of studying things carefully, and so that it becomes, because it's been published, you want it to be more than just chatter, because we're an academic institution. So the next thing is learning the technology, and this is really dependent in some respects on this e-technology savviness of the students. I'm an oldie, and a lot of my students are. 75. I noticed that earlier on that Tom, the piece that Tom had up there indicated that 75% of students have been engaged in spending 4 hours a day or something. 75% of my students are mature students and don't do that sort of thing. So they're at an immediate disadvantage in the fact that all of the technology they have to learn. So and it takes time to learn that technology, and that time and energy and so forth can interrupt other things that they should be doing. So that's this distinct disadvantage with that particular demographic. And certainly was the case with our studio all the way through. However, the other side to that is once you've learned the technology, then in the second, third, and fourth times that you use it, obviously it becomes more useful, and it then just becomes a tool and not the point of learning.
Yeah, and I think as an example of that is yourself, Ian.
Well, I'm getting a bit better at
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So I mean, like 2 years ago, I mean, you would have been terrified of this sort of stuff, and now you're actually quite happy to engage with it.
In those little moments that I know of, that I'm reasonably okay with. Now, in terms of the design studio, which is where I teach, there are some kind of limitations, I think. So while it can be, we use it for sort of research and the data gathering and stuff like that, and that was extremely effective to do that. I've found that much less design discussion or debate can take place. It just doesn't seem to be a really suitable forum for that. And I think that probably face-to-face stuff works being able to replace that really conducive and productive environment. But, time will tell how that will pan out, I think. Now, the next thing I've got down is teacher input. And I think, first of all, modelling seems a necessary aspect, and maybe that's simply because we have students who are not so au fait with this technology. But it does seem to be that modelling is necessary. And also some sort of modelling of how it can occur and leading the discussions, directing things. Otherwise, it can be just chatter, just nonsense. And also, I think, reigniting interesting discussions or giving some worthwhile response or redirection to things. However, this can be extraordinarily time-consuming. Unbelievably time-consuming. You can spend hours doing that, and especially if you're to kind of give worthy response to all students who are engaged in it. And especially if in the kinds of, particularly with the Ning side, there were about 3 different points of entry for students, a discussion page and then their own page and all that kind of stuff. That actually meant that you had to leap about all over the place to actually find what was going on and who was involved and all that. That's time consuming. And finally, I've got a sort of few bigger queries and discussions. First of all, I think care needs to be taken to ensure that the e-learning technologies are relevant to both the learning environment as a whole and to the task at hand, the particular things that we're trying to do. And so I think the technologies need to be understood as tools with particular capabilities. And only some of the technologies may be relevant for particular learning or for particular assignments. There needs to be awareness of the particular capacities of each of the technologies and adaptation to the learning environment and the assignments, and adaptation of the learning environment and the assignments to fit these capacities. So it needs to be a two-way adaptation, both of the technologies and of the learning environment, or of what you're trying to get them to do. So, yeah. And sometimes the adoption of e-technologies will assist in learning, and sometimes it will not, or won't be suitable, or won't be relevant. And then an appropriate selection needs to be made. From a teaching perspective, I think it has been a slow start, for me in particular, and we need to get up to speed to learn about the capabilities of these tools. And over time, I'm sure we'll attune the technologies to suit particularities of our discipline knowledge and our teaching